All right, greetings everyone. Welcome to the fourth part of the video for section 8.4. In this case, we're going to look at operations with vectors, but this time we're going to look at doing those operations using the component forms of the vectors. So this panel here talks about adding, subtracting, or scaling vectors in the component form. So in this case, kind of generally, we're going to think of the vector u as having the components u1 and u2. Vector v as having the components v1 and v2, and then c being a constant. Remember, this is a scalar. And how does that differ from a vector? Right, it only has magnitude, does not have direction. Okay, so if we're going to add two vectors in component forms, the way it works is we add, okay, then what we do is we subtract their x and y components. And in this case, notice that the order matters. So because we're doing vector u minus vector v, inside of the components, we have the u vector, or excuse me, the u components minus the v components. And then as we've talked about before, we can do scalar multiplication with vectors. And again, as you might have imagined, the way we do that in component form is multiply each component by its corresponding by the scalar. Okay. All right, so let's look at an example of using this. So let's say we have the vector u having the components 5, 4, and vector v having the components negative 2, 3. And we need to find the vector 2u minus 4v. Well, kind of like we do with orders of operations, we can do this in stages. So we can start, as you might imagine, doing the the scalar multiplication. So I'll start with 2u, which, as we just talked about, means do 2 times the component form of the vector u, which we do this by multiplying each component by the scalar. So 2 times 5, comma 2 times 4. And so we get that 2u is equal to the vector with components 10, comma 8. And then we'll do a similar thing with the minus 4v. So there's a negative sign there. I'm going to keep that in with the scalar. So I have negative 4 times the components of v, so negative 2, 3, which gives us negative 4 times negative 2, negative 4 times 3, which should give us the components 8, comma, negative 12. And then to finish this up, to do 2u minus 4v, note that that's the same as 2u plus negative 4v, right? Subtraction is the same as adding a negative. We have the components for each of those. So this will be 10, 8, plus 8, negative 12. Adding the corresponding components. So we add the x components, so the 10 and the 8 here, which gives us an x component of 18. And then add the y components to the 8 and the negative 12, which will give us a negative 4. So we end up with our components here being 18, negative 4. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.